Hello, Star Wars fans. Welcome back to another episode of the Starlight podcast. I'm going to be honest, the quality has risen. All right. We have finally got the last Infinity Stone. We've gotten all three of us on the podcast at the same time with high quality cameras. All right. For those who are watching on YouTube, we appreciate the support. Let us know what you think about the new setups. But that being said, we are at a full cast today. Of course, Lord Dagovere, how we doing, fam?
Feeling good, baby. I love the high quality coming in from the Dark Temple. Now we just got to know what the hell we're talking about.
Yeah.
It's good to see you, bros.
Exactly. That's step one. We're all here. We all look good. And of course, we've got Daddy Sheev. How we doing, fam?
Ready to roll, dude. Ready up.
Let's go, brother. Let's go. Listen, we got a lot to talk about today on this episode. We're going to get into, obviously, the Super Bowl spot that we had from this past weekend. Some people were a little disappointed. Some people were not. We're going to talk, a bunch of different topics, but we'll start with the news, right? We'll start with the most recent events. Super Bowl trailer, 30-second spot of Mando and Grogu riding on some tauntauns like Santa's sleigh. And it was just cute, honestly. Grogu takes the reins with the Force from Mando. And I wanted to get your guys' initial reactions because my reaction now is different than it was initially. What do you guys think?
I was initially disappointed. I remember texting in here in our Discord chat of like, is that it? It's kind of how I felt. I was expecting a trailer, and we got this kind of like weird Budweiser like commercial. It's just something you typically don't see for a film. So yeah, my initial reaction was just a little confused and disappointed. As a wise man once said, "My disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined." Maybe it wasn't that extreme, but I definitely wanted more, like Kylo Ren said that one time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that it was a bad trailer. I just think that there's disconnection. Like there's a clear lack of self-awareness, I would say. I think is a probably good terminology to put this on because again, this is the first movie that we're seeing since The Rise of Skywalker. And if you're really trying to convince people, especially movie-only fans, or even fans that aren't really a huge fan of Star Wars, it might be interested in seeing that one movie of the month. I'm not really sure if this is the way to do that. You know, I will say and play devil's advocate. Like I really love like the old KFC, Taco Bell, and Pizza Hut commercials back from the 1999, where it was when they were doing the Phantom Menace. You know, that's really cool. So I really appreciated the fun of it all. But I genuinely believe that this needs more. You know, if you're not convincing people now that this is a good movie to watch, I don't know if you're ever going to do that right now. Like, I genuinely believe, like, you're not really going to convince any part of the fandom that is against the idea of this movie that they should go and spend their money on it. That's how I feel, you know?
Yeah, when I first saw it, I was upset. Honestly,
Wow.
I was like, what are we doing here? Like, I thought there was going to be, because listen, for those who listen to the podcast, we were hyping this up. We were at a whole segment on what we thought this trailer was going to be, on what we were going to see, what they were going to reveal. It subverted our expectations for those, for those people who thought that. But upon, some introspection and some thinking on my end, Some coping, mostly coping. Thanks for the shout.
Yeah, coping.
I'm not that upset with it. If this is some sort of a kickoff to more marketing that we get in the coming weeks, like a big blitz of stuff, announcement trailer, all this stuff, I'm fine with it. Because this is the most normie spot that you're going to get. It's going to be millions of people who don't even know that the movie exists. So it was just almost an announcement of some sort where people are going to go, oh, now we have this Mandalorian and Grogu movie. It's all cute. It plays to the audience. And that's how I'm kind of coping with it, because I really did want to see like a full blown like trailer where we get all of this different stuff and maybe a little bit of a plot points, some cool stuff to see, maybe a reveal of some sort. That's not what we got. So I have to pivot and kind of, the Super Bowl spot is expensive, right? Super Bowl spots are the most expensive real estate that you can get in marketing right now. So if they didn't want to spend, for money for a 2-minute spot or minute 30, whatever it would be, I get that. Put the money towards something else. But I left disappointed, but I'm a little bit more understanding at this point.
Yeah, I'm still disappointed. But maybe you have better coping skills than I do. It's just I'm now a little, maybe I shouldn't feel this way, but I'm now a little worried about this movie of like, all right, guys, it's 3 months away. And, I was kind of expecting another trailer of some kind, like more of a full trailer, because all we've gotten so far is technically like a teaser, correct?
Yeah, I think it's a teaser.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
We haven't gotten like a full trailer yet, and this movie's out in 3 months. But I will say though, Dagovere, you brought up a good point of those like old school Taco Bell commercials. It got me thinking of the OG Burger King one from Revenge of the Sith in 2005. Dude, I remember that as a kid.
Yeah, dude.
Those were always great. But I guess my expectation was just, oh, we're finally going to get a full trailer for this. Like, this is the way you announce in the Super Bowl. And we get this like kind of like, I don't know, in my opinion, it just felt like a little like disconnected of, from Star Wars. At least that's how I felt about it. And I don't have the words. I'm just upset because give me the full trailer, please.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing is like, I think that if there's more momentum going into the Super Bowl about this movie, I think I always think about one teaser, and that's the Force Awakens teaser, where the final shots of that trailer was the Falcon on Jakku flying away from the First Order TIE fighters. Like that, in my opinion, is one of the greatest shots in a teaser trailer, in a Star Wars trailer, in the Force Awakens. That is embedded into my head because of how hyped that shit was. If you give me something like that with the Razor Crest, or Mando doing something for like 3 seconds, that's all I would have needed, going into that. And this, that with Grogu, and this is the way, the narration, I think that it's an added bonus, but it alone, I think, just sets the tone of, we're not going to push this movie because we don't think it's good enough. 3 months. We are 3 months away from the release, and to me, it's sending a message that Disney higher-ups don't give a shit about this film, and I just think that is such a terrible time, because you should be faking it till you make it right now, because this is a very important year for Star Wars. I'm not saying that is what it is. I'm not saying that. We haven't seen the movie yet, because I genuinely believe this movie's going to be good. I think it's going to be Skeleton Crew in season 1 type of vibes. Yeah. That's really what I'm getting from the movie. And Jon Favreau is directing it. I just don't see this movie being bad. But this movie is clearly not an Empire Strikes Back, a Revenge of the Sith, a Rogue One, an Andor level type of thing. And I'm okay with that. But the way that this lack of marketing it's just not giving me good vibes, guys, because I don't really know if, especially in like the past couple of years, when people are saying that there's no marketing for something, it's usually not good for the movie. It's usually underperforms, not just in terms of earnings, but also in terms of like, reception for the fandom. So I just don't know right now, man.
It feels like it's kind of being set up to fail. And we always talk about, we always talk about the Acolyte in that way, where that marketing was not great. And people, there were different stuff with the Acolyte, obviously, but it's just that same mistake of waiting a little bit. And of course, like, we're not at that like 3 month, like specific time frame is what the 26th. We got a few, like 2 weeks, but it's starting to get to crunch time where we need to see some hype, because like I was talking to some people in just like my office after the Super Bowl, around the office, like people know I make Star Wars videos and things like that. They're like, I didn't know about the Mandalorian and Grogu. I didn't know that was a movie.
Yeah, nobody's known.
So I think
the same thing.
I'm assuming that Disney is thinking, hey, maybe not a lot of people know that this is coming out, and this is going to be our introduction to it because it's going to reach the most people. It was the most watched halftime show, so people are going to be watching it, right? I think that's probably their strategy going forward.
I don't even think that.
You don't think?
No. Because I mean, the Super Bowl. I mean, I got a lot of shit to say about the Super Bowl because I'm Puerto Rican and Cuban, but the Super Bowl, I feel like was going to be the most watched anyway because it was going to be controversial. So people were going to watch that shit even when they said they weren't going to watch that shit. And I don't think Disney has that mentality 4 months before the Super Bowl because I'm pretty sure that's when those slots are buying up because they're expensive as hell. I literally just think that it is we know. I mean, guys, it looks like a duck. It sounds like a duck. It's probably a duck. We know more about Starfighter right now and what's happening with Starfighter than anything that we do with Mando and Grogu. And there hasn't even been a single trailer yet. And again, I'm not saying the movie is going to be bad. I'm just saying that there's clearly a favorite child right now, and it's not Mando and Grogu.
That being said, though, I think once we get a trailer, I think everybody's tone will shift. I think we're waiting for a trailer.
I just don't know what they're waiting for. Like, we got the Maul trailer, and that comes out in 2 months. Like, we haven't gotten anything with the Mandalorian, and this is like that we've talked about in the podcast.
Yeah.
We haven't got a Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
In going on 7 years in the theater, it'll be like 6.5 when this comes out.
Yeah. It's just really alarming.
They'd be building up a little more, and it's a popular IP of Mandalorian and Grogu, and I just feel like there's not a ton of marketing, and like you've expressed, Connor, a lot of people in my office that are casual Star Wars fans didn't know this was coming out until I told them.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
And,
it's just concerning to me with their strategy.
I've also seen Lucasfilm people make fun of like fans like bitching and complaining about the marketing, which I think is ridiculous. Honestly, I actually think that's insane. I don't understand why you're attacking your own fan base when you're the one that has to convince them in the first place. I don't understand why you're coming from that. Like, even if you obviously understand more, like obviously you do, you've been around this stuff for 20 plus years, 30 plus years. These kids on the internet aren't going to understand. They're just, in my opinion, like wanting more. They want to be fed. They're hungry, So why get upset at them when it's coming from a place that love? I don't understand that criticism. But I get that maybe there's still too early to market this thing, but this is Star Wars we're talking about, man. And just like I was talking about yesterday on my stream, there are people from 2015 that think that everything that has come out is not good. I'm not saying you have to please these people, but these are the people that are convincing everyone else in the universe that this is not the IP that it used to be when it was sold, before it was sold. So I don't know. To me, it's just more damage, to the reputation of Star Wars. And especially if people see those posts and see that tweet, I don't think it's good. So it's just another bag of whatever thrown in the sauce that's ruining the taste of this entire experience.
Yeah, I agree with that. I really do think once we are fed, I think a lot of people's tones will shift. I think once we get that trailer, like I know for me, once I get that, I forgot I was even complaining.
Yeah.
At all. You know what I mean? Like, hey, put that in front of me. Like I'm there. So I will say, like, I've talked about this on other podcasts. Like right now, I'm not feeling that magic yet. I'm not feeling the magic of that movie. Whether or not, just because probably we haven't gotten enough of it,
Big bad Connor, Last Jedi boy, not feeling the magic.
I know what's going on.
I don't know. Like we just don't have enough yet. You know what I mean? I'm gonna be excited when I'm in the theater, but right now it's like,
that's kind of how I feel too. It's not enough, and I think that's where my disappointment comes in. I think you bring up a good point, Connor. The second we get the second trailer, I'll probably stop bitching. It's just, all right, guys, what are we doing? I feel like this is a big opportunity that Lucasfilm and Disney in particular needs to like nail with this film, and I'm just concerned right now about some of the marketing and what we're gonna get with this. But like Dagovere, I agree with what you said, and that's in the sense of, I think it's gonna be good.
Yeah,
Still think it's going to be a good movie. It's just, I want to feel that hype. I know I will the day I go see it, but I'm not feeling it a ton now.
Yeah. I tell you guys all the time. I tell Connor a lot too. It's just like I do not like people giving an excuse for the fire to continue. You know, like I just really disagree in the idea of giving them excuses to talk shit about it. You know, like we talk about this for everything that goes on, you know, mainly when it's like Disney versus Lucasfilm or, you know, whatever else is going on. But I just feel like there's clearly some sort of disconnect here. And it really sucks because, you know, there's a lot of Lucasfilm people out there that are like trying so hard to say like, hey guys, you don't worry, you know, it's going to be this, it's going to be that. But like, you know, of course they know. And it's just so hard these days to, I guess you could say like silence the louder majority. It just feels like a majority these days, honestly. It doesn't feel like a loud minority. It really does feel like a loud majority, you know? And I think that's also the issue too, because even someone like us who's coming to more of a complete sense of reality on these things, you know, I know it's going to be good. You guys know it's going to be solid, you know, whatever, but it's just like, you know, is it my nostalgia that's truly like convincing me of this? Because there is no reality that's allowing me to convince myself that my thought process is correct here because I haven't seen anything, you know, yet outside of a few seconds of a teaser trailer, you know, and the Mando and Grogu Tauntaun stuff, which I liked, but it's just like, you know, same story, you know, it's just frustrating. Yeah,
I agree. I think my final statement on this is disappointed, but if we get more, it'll be fine. You know what I mean? Yeah. Disappointed, but if this is a kickoff, fine. Give us what we want. Give us, you know, stuff that we weren't even expecting. I wasn't expecting that. That is kind of like that 2000s marketing unexpected, you know, Taco Bell, Pizza Hut stuff, which is fun, but in a vacuum, like it's fine, but like in the context of all of the stuff that we haven't got yet,
alone. Yes,
it's a little bit tough to swallow. So I think that's the biggest thing that I think most people are complaining about, not the actual ad itself, just the fact that the context around it is tough.
Yeah,
like if that didn't come out in the Super Bowl and that come out like a month before the movie, I think different reaction to it.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel right now. Like it's not looking good. Yeah, the timing's off. It's not looking good. I really don't know what the strategy is here, but I still believe we can make a comeback. You know,
for sure.
But my belief is much more different than reality. So,
wake up to reality.
Wake up to reality.
Yeah.
I said that the other day. Yeah, I said it the other day. I was like, let's go. But go ahead.
I was just saying while you guys were talking a little bit, I did like pull up like the article again of like the first teaser, and that came out in September. I don't think anything else has come out in terms of trailers, right? That was September 22nd, and we're now February 11th.
Yeah, it's tough.
So I had to like VAR check that of like, am I tripping? Am I tripping? Apparently, I'm not tripping. Yeah. Let's go check the monitor.
Dude.
Yeah,
dude.
No, that's I think we could.
I'm missing something here.
No.
I don't know. I think maybe the prophecy says.
Yeah. Right. That's actually a great transition, because the next topic that we wanted to talk about, a little more lore focused, because I had made a video yesterday about the Chosen One prophecy, Anakin being born of the Force itself. Somebody asked, like, was he actually born from the Force, or is that just a myth in universe? And I said, yeah, like he is born of the Force, like that is canon. Shmi wouldn't lie about that. There's no reason for Shmi to be like, oh, there's no father. Like there's no reason for her to do that. So, what do you got?
So I'm just gonna say, you know, it might have been of the Force, but I like to believe my boy was behind it. You know, Sheev, Palpatine, because I've seen a comic where Palpatine, it's heavily implied.
Yes, it's implied, but it's wrong. That's the whole point. He's deceiving you.
In the comic, Vader is having
Anakin's
having like a nightmare basically, and he's seeing
you know
all
what
of the
I'm talking
stuff.
about.
He's seeing all of the stuff that has gone basically wrong in his life, and there's like a vision of him of that screenshot that you've seen probably with Palpatine around Shmi, like doing all of that stuff. So
Give into your anger.
yeah, so that is that like out of context, you're like, oh well, that's what's happening, but within context.
Yeah, it's also implied in the Darth Plagueis novel that not necessarily implied, but it's like which is a crazy point, but like Plagueis and Sidious are literally injecting the essence of the Force into the unifying Force and trying to create a being of the dark side. And supposedly this is just people making context clues that the Force was like, yeah, bitch, okay, well, I'm gonna make Anakin, you know. And so that is like the whole thing that started the whole, oh, well, Anakin actually was created by Plagueis and Sidious, but George ain't about that life, you know. So that's the whole thing that people have like thought for so many years. And it seems pretty consistent in new canon that doesn't, like, that's not actually what happened. Anakin is literally just from the Force, you know. Yeah. He's the son of the Force.
Yeah. But one of the things I wanted to dive in a little deeper, because when I was talking about this, I was talking about the Chosen One prophecy. And there's a lot to kind of go into with the fact that there is a prophecy to begin with, and the fact that we know from canon books that Qui-Gon was obsessed with prophecies. And I just kind of want to see your guys' thoughts on the prophecy itself. Like, is that, I don't know how to correctly ask this question, but like, do you think the prophecy was right? Do you like it? I think, I have some opinions on it, but I want to see, like, what do you guys think about the prophecy?
I don't know how I feel. I don't know how to answer the first part of your question because I haven't made up my mind. But if the prophecy was correct, guys, let's keep in mind, he did eventually wipe out the Jedi and the Sith, technically. So he did bring balance, kind of.
He brought balance.
He brought balance.
Because it's not real. It's not even about that. You know, I think a lot of people take that out of context because the whole point is that when he destroys Sidious at the end, he also offs himself too. Mm-hmm. And those are the two Sith. Those are the spreaders of the cancer. So that's how he brings back balance. You know, it's not written that he says, "Oh, Anakin Skywalker is going to fall to the dark side. He's going to kill children." That's not what it is, you know.
I'm just making a bit of like, he killed kids and then he killed Sidious.
Oh God, I really dislike when that's not what it's about. But
I agree. I'm just doing the bit. I'm just doing the bit of like, oh yeah, guys, see, he killed the Jedi and then the Sith. There's balance. But he eventually brings balance by killing Sidious, kind of, and then himself. So
yeah, absolutely,
I liked it in the end, and I kind of liked, Anakin Skywalker is Star Wars, and he's, that midichlorian count is off the charts, and I like that kind of story about like, oh, he is the most powerful being that we've seen, and he could bring balance. I always enjoyed that. I would want to hear why people don't like that potentially, but I always thought it made sense and it worked.
Yeah, I didn't know that there were so many people that hated the idea of the prophecy until. Is
that what you heard in your video?
Connor.
Connor. Yeah.
Sorry, yeah. No, I just saw. I mean, there weren't a lot of people talking like shit about the prophecy. I just think it's interesting that George went like the prophecy route. Like, hey, there's a prophecy and he's gonna fulfill it no matter what, because Yoda says it in the Revenge of the Sith. He's like, hey, this prophecy could have been misread. Like we are at this point in the Jedi Order, we have no idea what is happening. Yeah, we have absolutely no clue.
We could be.
Cooked we are.
Talked we are.
That's crazy, dude. Oh my god, that's insane. You know what's funny too is like, I notice that a lot of like people that really enjoy the sequel trilogy do not like Anakin, and also dislike the idea of the prophecy. So I didn't know that until the whole new generation of Star Wars began around like 2016, 17. I started to see like there's a lot of Anakin haters and stuff like that, which is fine. I get it. You know, he's a polarizing character anyway. But I always thought the idea of the prophecy was like fine. I was like, that was the whole point. This guy's supposed to bring balance to the Force. I thought that made Anakin more special. I mean, I was growing up watching that stuff, so it could be biased, but I never thought it was like a hindrance to story. I really enjoyed it. You know, I never had an issue with it. I don't have an issue with it, and I think it's fine.
Yeah,
you know?
I like to take a look at it more in universe. Like, if you're someone if you're like another student in the Jedi Order, and you're hearing about chosen one, this and that, and this and that. Even Anakin himself is getting told, "You're the chosen one. You're going to bring balance to the Force." That's a lot of pressure to put on somebody,
dude.
Yeah,
and when
so much
mental abuse,
draft pick. And he's got to save the Jets or something. That's what.
Yeah, who's also a slave.
Yeah,
he's like abused.
So
lost his mother. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, don't even say that. Jesus Christ. Oh my God. Oh
what?
My God.
The New York Jets. I'm just making an NFL joke. They're terrible.
I would never put that on Anakin. Oh my God.
Exactly. If you send him to,
I'd rather have him play for the Dolphins than the Jets.
Yeah, exactly. Honestly. Yeah, that's like that's hell on earth. That's what I'm saying.
He's part of the process Sixers with that Jedi Order.
Yeah, literally.
That's crazy.
He's got the weight of the franchise on his shoulders, and that's a good point, Connor. He's literally been told this since he got there. And not only that, he was one of the oldest kids ever to be accepted as a Jedi.
Yeah. In that era, yeah, because there's way older Jedi and stuff, but before they decided to reform and all that bullshit happened. So,
yeah. No, I really think it is interesting because, like, I'm sure Anakin throughout growing up, I'm sure he was bullied because of it. I'm sure he was, kind of isolated because he is different than all of these other Jedi. All he has is Obi-Wan. And then Palpatine.
Oh, in the temple? In the temple you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a few comics where he's like, he's clearly problem child, But yeah, it is what it is. I don't know. I feel like that's a whole other podcast, guys.
Yeah.
If we get into like Anakin, because I see it both ways. I mean, Anakin effed up at the end of the day. You guys know how I feel, even though I'm an Anakin fan. But I also feel like the surroundings did not help this kid at all. In fact, I don't know, but yeah,
it was a perfect storm. For me, it really was like a perfect storm of, hey, this kid's the chosen one. He's super special, but the Jedi at that point were too far gone in like the bureaucracy, but also like Sidious is just already has his talons into them.
Yeah,
and this is his prey.
Master.
Exactly, he's the puppet master. So it's just like, which is why I don't know if we talked about this in the podcast before, but like in the High Republic, I think Anakin would have thrived. I think he would have been fantastic to be in that High Republic era.
Yeah, because there would be no Sidious at that point, right? And it's more of like this is like more before like the war and how the Jedi are viewed like more negatively publicly.
I think he would have been a way seeker. No, you're shaking your head, Dagovere?
All right. So yes, the way seeker idea works in theory, but there's no Qui-Gon either. There's no father figure still. And that's what Anakin needs. He needed someone that was there, that treated him as someone that truly loved him, And it's not that Obi-Wan didn't love him, Qui-Gon did, and Qui-Gon was the person, in my opinion, that was ultimately going to help Anakin steer there. On top of being a way seeker, yes, Anakin fulfills his potential, and I would say even supersedes anything that the Jedi had the idea of, and probably freaking helps the Jedi grow into whatever stupid-ass dogma that they're in. Someone once told me, and this was actually like 2 months ago, and I thought it was actually brilliantly done, because I was talking about how in the Revenge of the Sith novel, Mace Windu is telling Anakin, and the most important time, that he is the chosen one. Like, dude, you are the chosen one. This is your destiny. And when they're fighting Sidious, and I felt like, this is like really personal. I felt like for people who do not understand like how sometimes they feel like their words have no value, like that was everything that Anakin needed, But because of everything that happened to him, it didn't mean shit. you know. And someone was taught, and I was always saying, like, you know, because of that book, I always feel like the Jedi like loved Anakin. They saw him as like a Jesus Christ, right? You know, like a savior. But then someone was like, no, they didn't genuinely love him. They liked him like materialistically, if that makes any sense, like an object, not as like a person. And I thought that wasn't a bad take, because when you're looking at everybody in the Jedi Order outside of Obi-Wan, I mean, even Yoda is like guilty of like just condescendingly talking to this kid. Of course he is, you know, he's the freaking mental problematic child, you know. But if Qui-Gon is there, or his mother even, which they should have done because he's the goddamn chosen one. You think this guy's going to free you from all this stuff and free balance. Why are you not taking his slave mother and just abiding by whatever stupid ass, you know, relationship that he has just because he's this kid that you believe in? Why wasn't that extra step taken if this kid meant so much to you, you know? And that got me thinking, yeah, maybe. I mean, he's guilty of the shit that he did, but yeah, maybe they could have helped a little bit more in the idea of that. And there's nothing like that in the High Republic, Connor. You know, there's nothing. So there might not be Sidious, but Anakin is going to F up and fail, and no one's going to be there to help him and guide him, and he's going to still kill Tusken Raiders and shit, you know?
You don't think Yoda would be there to help him if he was if he felt he could be a little bit more open on the stuff that he was going through?
No, because look at what Yoda does in the High Republic too. But I think Yoda's behavior is extremely consistent because he's the one that's hiding the nameless and the endless from the rest of the galaxy. You know, Yoda. It's not that Yoda's a failure, because he's not. But there is clearly this consistent behavior, not just with Yoda, but like the Jedi Order, where they're not intelligent enough or have enough wisdom enough to truly understand like their choices have repercussions. And yeah, you know, they're not actually healthily growing these people around them. I mean, even someone like Stellan G, Elzar Mann and Avar Kriss are like the perfect examples. These are some of the most powerful of the Jedi at that time, and they're effing up. They are effing up, you know, really bad, especially Elzar Mann. He's a head case. I love my boy clapping cheeks, you know, but he's got problems, you know. So if Elzar Mann is having problems, Anakin's gonna have way worse problems, you know.
Yeah, I get that. I think, I don't know, for some reason Anakin did not feel comfortable talking about stuff he was going through.
But how is a victim supposed to feel comfortable when everyone else around them he feels is not listening? You know, like. There's a part, and guys, I'm not making excuses. I'm just trying to talk through a level of an abuse, someone that's been abused as a victim, you know, and this is coming from my personal experience. You know, Bad Batch has a fantastic character that I can't remember for the name. It's Omega's sister. You know, you see the way that she acts in the Bad Batch, where she's inside Mount Tantus and she's trying to help Omega, but she also knows that this is her reality. She cannot escape this life. You know, even when she sees Omega escaping and giving her hope, in her head, she's always believing that she's never going to escape. This is her reality. And it literally takes Omega and Crosshair and the Bad Batch to finally free her ass and then realize that she has a future out of that. It's that type of level of like convincing and changing someone's thought process. Only then they're going to tell you, dude, you know what? I effed up and I killed this village, you know? It's that type of stuff. And Anakin didn't have that. Anakin didn't even have that with Padme, who also I think is one of the reasons why he acts like, because she didn't call him out enough in the movies, you know, about his behavior and stuff like that, you know, which I think is a whole other conversation. But I just think someone that's got mental illness like that, someone that's an abuser, someone that's also an addict, in my opinion, because of the dark side, because of his anger, and he has so many tendencies to fall into his anger, but he needs more than therapy, you know, to change his ways. Mm-hmm. For sure.
Yeah. That's a good point you bring up about the Omega sister from the Bad Batch. And that's why Anakin never like said anything, is he doesn't feel like he can talk to anybody. Like, because he's like, oh, what am I going to tell him? That I have a secret wife? I'm going to be expelled from the Order.
Exactly. Like, they think I'm the chosen one. What am I supposed to do?
Yeah, what am I supposed to do? So then when Palpatine offers, like, oh, I can, you know, help you save your wife, like, I'm not, like, he feels like a sense of comfort in that and like an understanding because he knows he can never tell the Jedi.
Yeah.
Well, there is that plot point in Dooku Jedi Lost where there is a Jedi who has a child and doesn't feel comfortable enough to admit that to Yoda and to the Jedi Order. And then Yoda's like, "Well, why didn't you say anything? What are you talking about? Like we could have helped you.
We totally would have helped you."
And perception is reality at that point. Perception is reality at that point where if you perceive that you're not safe with this information towards this people, it's chalked at that point where you want to be able to help.
That book is so good. Yeah. That book is so fucking good, man. Like I specifically remember that conversation too because it's him and Count Dooku. It's Yoda and Count Dooku, and he's like, "I don't know why she didn't tell us. We would have helped her." And then Dooku's like, "Are you sure, buddy?" Yeah. and then Dooku leaves the Jedi Order after that too. Yeah. Which I think is hilarious. But that is 100% exactly what happened. And this was a council member, by the way, too, that had that shit that was going on. Mm-hmm. So yeah, like I love that book. That book is good. People need to read that book. But yes, I think this is only partial of the problem too, because I actually kind of think, and this might be a hot take, that Anakin Skywalker's character is kind of assassinated in Attack of the Clones because he goes from this little boy that has all this potential, who's innocent, and then all of a sudden, Attack of the Clones, you see all these problems already,
Yeah, I think that's a problem for the prequels in general. We have
exactly.
It's too quick.
Yeah, with the big
it moves too quick.
Skips. Yeah, that's why Clone Wars, I feel like adds so much more to Anakin. And you mentioned earlier, Dagovere, that people don't like Anakin always from the prequels. Now I can understand that to an extent, just from seeing the films, because I kind of agree in Attack of the Clones, it is a little like kind of quick, and he is kind of like a little moody teenager, which I can understand. But Clone Wars Anakin, dude, adds so much context between 2 and 3 of how he gets, to where he is in Revenge of the Sith, and it adds so much to his character. So that's why I feel like that's also why I just love Clone Wars so much, because of what it adds to Anakin.
Yeah, especially when I think that Tatooine scene where he's going off in the distance and trying to find his mother is one of the most amazing scenes in the whole story. But I think also, too, is I grew up with those films. I was much younger. I was a stupid ass and I was doing stupid shit. And it took me a long time to mature my ass to see the whole picture of Anakin Skywalker. And a lot of people now are getting into Star Wars when they're like 20 plus 30. They're much more mature than I was, so they have a totally different understanding of life. And then they absorb Anakin differently and the story differently, which I did not. I was growing up with the character, so I saw the same type of miscommunication, the mental abuse, and the stupid ass decisions that I made in life through Anakin. So I had way more empathy, for what he was going through. And then I got older and I realized, okay, yeah, no, maybe he fucked up quite a bit. So so it's different.
I'd argue that a Clone Wars show from episode 1 to 2 would have done more for Anakin's character than from 2 to 3. I think that time is that time is crucial in Anakin's development that we don't know that much about, because how does he get to the point where he's talking about a dictatorship, where he's talking about, hey, I think that as long as it's good for the galaxy, like who cares if it's just one person doing everything? Like I would do that. I think that would be a really, really interesting time period that, like, honestly, we don't have that much focused on Anakin.
Yeah, there's not a lot of lore on that in general anyway. I'm sure there's stuff in Legends about it.
A few comics, yeah.
But, yeah, that's not really an era of Star Wars that we have a lot of context to.
Like, Anakin's entire life was flipped around just like that. And you become one of the most important people in the galaxy at that point when you thought, basically, you're nobody, and then now you're the focus of this entire order. You are supposed to save this entire order, and you don't have your mom, and you have no idea what's going on. The person that you trusted is dead, and now it's Obi-Wan, and he's learning. He doesn't know what to do. So more context than that would have been absolutely fantastic, I think.
Yeah, now I want to see that. Is that Tales of the Chosen One? I think that'd be...
That would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I need to see Sidious day 1. Day 0, like, oh yeah, it looks like your master doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. You know,
We will watch your career with
Yeah.
great interest.
yeah. And I always think
watch his career.
yeah, exactly. I always think about the one book with Obi-Wan Kenobi where he's still using Qui-Gon Jinn's lightsaber, and which is really cool. And he ends up saving Anakin at the end of the book with Qui-Gon's lightsaber. It's a whole thing. It's really sick. It's an old Legends book, but I also think about the panel of the comic strip with like Sidious taking Anakin to like the lower levels of Coruscant and showing him like how shitty everything is. You know, like, yeah, you know, you're in the Jedi now, so you're going to see all these nobles and shitty people be so corrupt and nasty. You know, I just want to see complete manipulation, conniving from that asshole, because I think that will help people understand even more so how this innocent kid was twisted into what he becomes. You know, I think that's better because yes, why the hell haven't we got that yet in new canon? Mm-hmm. You know.
Yeah, because I don't really remember a time like without the context of the Clone Wars. Do you know what I mean? Like for me, it's just like there's always been some sort of Clone Wars show. There is the Tarkovsky Clone Wars where we see like very beginning, like when he's facing Ventress and stuff like that. Like even that in my mind, that was like the first Star Wars that I really like got obsessed with. Basically, was that Tarkovsky Clone Wars.
So good.
And I mean, that does a really good job of him showing his journey when he fights Ventress and basically earns his Jedi knighthood. Like that is really cool to see. And we also see in that there's not enough Jedi Knights to be able to fight. So there's conversations through the council being like, I mean, let's cut these trials. Like let's start knighting these people so we can send them to war. Like that's a really interesting thing that I just popped in my head as well from where the council's at.
I love that shit, man. Oh, I love that.
It's great stuff. I love that. I know it's Legends now, and we have the, you know, Cartoon Network, Clone Wars now. But yeah, Tarkovsky, that's some peak stuff. I didn't see it when it came out. I watched it like after the fact, and dude. Now I might have to go watch it again. It's so good.
Do it.
It's on Disney Plus. It's so good.
Too. Oh, it is on Disney Plus now. That's awesome.
Yeah, the whole vintage stuff. It's awesome, man. I love that stuff.
Good.
Yeah, lock it in. But wanted to move on to our next and final topic. Dagovere, you've got a little special presentation today from the Acolyte. I'll give you the floor. Yes. What you got here for us?
Yes, in the archives, I've dug deep into the art of the Acolyte story, which is, I really love these art books, guys. If you love Star Wars shows, you have to get the art books because it shows you like all about the pitch, the production, and what's going on. And because I love my boy Smilo Ren, the Stranger, and Darth Plagueis, I wanted to see what was going on. And also I have some experience in production, so I like to understand what was happening here, and I can kind of predict it to an extent with my very small experience what may or may not happen. This is just me talking as a person. This is not what happened. But there's one thing that I noticed in the pitch part of The Acolyte where Leslie Headland is talking, and I wanted to read it and then also point out a couple of things. So this is about the pitch that's happening, okay, with The Acolyte. So within a few months, the COVID-19 pandemic declared on March 11th, 2020, shuttered the traditional writer's room and slowed the pace of development for more than a year. It wasn't until vaccines became widely available and that Walt Disney Studios reopened offices in July of 2021 that Headland met with Lucasfilm President Kathleen Kennedy once more to kickstart a new era of development on the series. So I'm going to read it again, just so you guys understand how long of a gap that is. Within a few months, the COVID-19 pandemic declared on March 11th, 2020, shuttered the traditional writer's room and slowed the pace of development for more than a year. It wasn't until vaccines became widely available and the Walt Disney Studios reopened offices in July of 2021 that Headland met with Lucasfilm President Kathleen Kennedy once more to kickstart a new era of development of the series. And I think that's really interesting because there's two very important words. New era of development, which means the pitch stopped and essentially was shelved, put on the side burner. And a new era of development means that they probably had to pick up the process from the beginning. Okay. And Leslie goes on in this book and talks about how they started around 2018. She wanted to pitching. I would say that era of pitching is like it usually takes about 2 years. I would say, because there's a lot of stuff there's development stages. Like, all right, you do this, then you get a sit down. Okay, good. Now maybe you want to see some concept art. Cool. Okay, now let's get an animatic. Okay, all right, great. So now we're going to green light this for like 6-9 months to see what else we can do. And then there's like the actual green light of the entire project, right? I don't know how much of that happened or didn't happen. That's just my personal experience from the very small projects I've worked on. And I think what's interesting here is just how long the development paused. You know, I had talked about back in like 2018 when I was doing my podcast, Unlock the Knowledge, where I was talking about how I'm very curious how COVID-19, I think it was like after how COVID-19 was just kind of like messing with production all the way. Like you saw it in Kenobi, absolutely saw it in Kenobi, and who was in charge then, and how much budget was being taken out of projects. And I was worried about like when we're going to get to the post-COVID era of production and see how projects become, you know, outside the volume and everything else, you know, when they can actually go out and shoot in locations again and travel. And I just think it's crazy that it's over a year that this pitch stopped, guys. That does not happen. That does not happen. Mm-hmm. That doesn't happen, you know? And then it's a whole new era of development, which means artists had to leave, probably. Writers had to leave, probably. Whoever else was on that original pitch probably had to leave, you know? Again, this is just me talking as a person. This is just me theorizing. It's not true. But then I look at a lot of these amazing pieces of art. And one of the ones I love so much is the way the Jedi looked. See if I can show it.
Ooh.
Yeah. You see this look? This is not the same look that we have in the Acolyte. And when you look out throughout this book, this artist, I think his name is Watts, there's a lot of his style, and it just looks so good. It looks like almost like a mix between what we see in the prequel trilogy and the Old Republic. It's very Satele Shan-esque, and I really love that feel. Like, I genuinely believe they nailed this era, and you see that a lot throughout this book, and then all of a sudden it stops. And it turns into a different style. It turns into a different artist. And then it turns into what you get later. Maybe I'm thinking, or maybe that just they said, you know what, it doesn't look like the movies. We need something a little bit more of High Republic, which also is really interesting because when she pitched this initially, she wanted it pre-Phantom Menace, like 100 years, right? But guess what was also about to launch around that time? The High Republic.
Yeah.
So I feel like also that somewhat pushed her into this connective tissue era that maybe not saying that she didn't want to be, but it just ended up having to be moved there. And then there's also just like crazy stuff about like the Jedi Temple and what it looks like at that time is so beautiful. There's also planets like Nar Shaddaa, which is like one of the greatest Star Wars planets, underworld planets in expanded universe that we haven't gotten in live action, you know, or in animation yet. It's only been mentioned like a few times in new canon, which really sucks. And I don't know why that planet hasn't been used, but there's also, I don't know if you guys remember the Star Wars Eclipse trailer. Yeah. See if I can find this like right on the spot. There's also these factions, concept art where there's like completely different things that was not in this show at all. And it looks like they have like some army type people or faction type people that were a part of this concept, which probably has nothing to do with story. It might just be people like writing something, but it looks like a lot of those military people that we see in the Outlaws trailer I'll try and find it when I can, man. But there's just a lot of stuff in here that I think looks really good. And then there's also stuff that I just think that doesn't really vibe with me, you know, or I wouldn't expect to find in a Star Wars book. Mm-hmm. And that's just my opinion, because I have a very like radical view of like how Star Wars is supposed to look and feel. But also what I think is interesting is the pitch and how the pitch changed, because initially the pitch was about Osha trying to track a Sith Lord down throughout the entire galaxy that enslaved her sister, which is not the same story that we got. Right. So I think that story is better. I think that is
that sounds better. Yeah.
that's the story I would have liked to listen to, because it's way more Sith than it is Jedi. What's the product that we got? But again, this happens all the time in production, where the original pitch is usually not the same towards the end of the development. It usually always changes. It's very rarely where it's completely unfiltered and then executed. So I just thought it was really interesting. I wanted to bring it up because I know a lot of people dislike this show so much. I still think there's some potential of the idea of the components that were created in this project, but just like all things, man, I wasn't there, and it sucks because I think that there's a lot of concept in here that didn't see the light of day, and we'll probably never get to see it, dude. Absolutely sucks, man. Trash, dude.
Yeah, man. I will say it does seem like a little bit of a red flag that I mean, I guess they didn't have a choice with COVID, but it sounds like it was like a year and 4 or 5 months that they just stopped production, and a lot of stuff can change in that time from what it sounds like, and what kind of you just described of maybe how the story seems to have changed, people probably working on and off the project, and then you brought up a good point too about how the High Republic's coming out at this time, and Leslie might have to change some key concepts of her story to fit into this, and even bring in characters from that. Like we see Vanestra, and you guys I'm not as familiar with High Republic. I know you guys are.
Yeah.
But obviously, she used those books as reference once they were out, which I believe, Connor, they started coming out, early 2020? High Republic?
Yeah. I think it was early 2020, maybe 2019.
Or it was like late 2019, potentially. And even then, you had said, Dagovere, she started pitching this in 2018. So
yes, I don't think the High Republic was ever really on her mind until they probably made her aware, because that's what I'm assuming is like, let's say you want to use a character, right, and you have to figure out where that character is in that time span, because another project may be using that character. This is just me theorizing, by the way. And so, okay, you can't use this character because this character is actually to be brought into live action. So we have to move this. Okay, you can't use this ship. You can't use this era. This is what's happening in this timeline. So we're going to have to move your story like 100 years forward or 100 years backward, And I'm assuming that is probably what happened, where it was just like, oh, I just found them. Here we go. All right, cool. So I think this is also context, because I wanted to show you guys about the Star Wars Outlaws trailer. The Star Wars Eclipse trailer, which was also supposed to take place in the High Republic. Mm-hmm. So, let me see if I can.
Oh, I can kind of see it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Mm. That looks cool.
Yeah.
That's kind of giving me like Old Republic vibes.
Yeah, look, go watch the Eclipse trailer again, and these are very similar to the faction that's in there. They're not the same. It's not identical, but there's characteristics that are adopted. And again, like there's a lot of stuff in here like that didn't make it at all. Like these little trooper guys over here, that are completely different. So I'm very curious about what the original pitch was and what context it was using stuff. Because as always, it seems extremely interesting. And Leslie Headland is not a terrible director, and she knows her stuff about Star Wars because she plays Knights of the Old Republic. She plays all these games. She's, again, I always say, the ideal director that I would want to in terms of understanding Star Wars to work on this. But I am so curious how much COVID really damaged this project, because what writers were there before? What artists were there before? What props people were there before? Who was working on production and taking notes and giving her notes before? A year and almost a year, over a year and like 3-4 months have gone by.
Yeah,
that's tough. There were a couple projects that were impacted by COVID. Like Kenobi was impacted by COVID. Like
Book of Boba Fett.
I'm sure Ahsoka was.
Sure, yeah.
Mandalorian.
Yes, Ahsoka,
Mandalorian season.
Mandalorian too. Yeah, Mandalorian season 3, for sure, right?
Yeah. I think a lot of the stuff that we have seen that's been out was affected by COVID in some way.
Yeah,
for sure.
Which is unforeseen, obviously. Mm-hmm. So it does that's something you do have to remember too. That like, hey, these people couldn't work for a whole year. Things change in that year. companies downsize in that year. You know what I mean? Like there's literally so much
Andor
stuff
was
that
still good.
happens. Andor was still good despite everything.
Yeah, that's what I just made that joke of, because Andor came out 2022, so they would have been impacted technically by it as well.
Yeah, they probably were they probably were. How can I say? They were probably
More
affected
post-production?
by scripts and writing, but I don't think it was anywhere near as as effective as like the Acolyte, which is like the first time ever the show is happening, the first time this project is happening, the first like you're actually getting your staff together,
Yeah.
So it's not just like a re-education. It's just like, okay, we have to go to the boot camp of how to do Star Wars, and then we're still getting people together.
Yeah.
COVID happens in the middle of this, so I guess we're not gonna call you back later. Oh, this person's got a job now. We can't do that. Oh, this writer's got a job now. Damn, that sucks. Oh, this actor's got a scheduling thing. Damn, that sucks. So these are just things that I know from my previous experience in the industry. So I just can't even imagine how shitty it is for Star Wars, because it's not like you can just pick someone off the street or someone that's talking on a podcast and get them to work. It's just like,
Well, if you need people, Star Wars, you got 3 dudes right here.
Swagman. If you can hear us, please.
I'll be a background Jedi. I'll just walk around the temple with some drip. That's all I need, man. No, but that's a fair point, Dagovere, of some of the stuff that might happen with the Acolyte, and some of that art looked really, really cool. So I'm gonna have to check out that book as well.
Yeah, and I'm gonna leave you with this one little seed. Just think about the stuff they're not showing us.
Yeah, true. Because that stuff got approved. I wonder what didn't get approved for the book.
Right.
Show me everything.
Yeah, because I can sit here and talk about Sidious and the Rise of Skywalker concept art that's never seen the light of day. So,
Ooh.
Yeah.
That could be a whole nother podcast. Is the damn Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, we have like 3 other podcasts already established from today. We're ready to roll.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, and by the way, guys, I'm not making any excuses, for what the Acolyte is. I'm just pointing out what happened or what might have happened. That's it.
Potential things.
We know the story of Star Wars. We know how it was practically a disaster in production, but not everybody's George Lucas.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah, I've heard about that from episode 4.
Yeah, I mean, well, George Lucas had people kissing siblings, so not perfect, but he got it together.
He made it work.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I think we've been going for about an hour now. So any last points that we want to leave the audience with?
All I will say is 3 months and 11 days. Mandalorian and Grogu.
Yeah.
Give me a trailer.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dave Filoni, because now it's on you, buddy. Give me that trailer.
Let's go. Let's go.
I will say that if you're going to direct any energy, I would direct it towards Disney, because I genuinely believe that Lucasfilm doesn't have too much say in it outside of the story that they want to tell. But even the story they want to tell isn't really what's going to happen. But again, I was going to say the same thing Daddy Sheev is saying, is like, Disney, you have 3 months, and for a lot of people, this is like a make or break year for them, So if this doesn't do well, and then Ahsoka 2 doesn't do well, I don't know, man. Yes, it's going to be really, it's even if Starfighter is like the next greatest thing on the street, it's going to be very difficult to convince people after their eyes. It's time and time again. It's not to me, dude, but there's a lot of other people out there that their voices are getting so loud, it's infecting people's view on all franchises, not just this one, but Lord of the Rings and Marvel and everything else, So it's time to nut the fuck up, man. That's all I gotta say, dude.
Yeah.
Time to lock in.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say. It's time for Disney to lock in for us. I think the hysteria at this point for this Mandalorian and Grogu spot and the movie itself, I think is a little bit overblown, where once we get kind of the stuff that they're going to give us for the marketing, I think we'll start to be more excited. I think we'll start to be getting in that mindset of, hey, new Star Wars project is coming out, and people are going to be excited. That's what the buzz will be. I don't think if we get a really cool trailer and we get some really cool stuff coming through, people are not going to remember the Mandalorian Super Bowl 30 seconds that everybody thought was going to be a trailer. So I am more optimistic than I think most of the fandom is after that spot. But we need to see it. We need to see the stuff here shortly, and we need to start cooking. So I am super excited for the movie. Like I said, I don't feel that magic yet, but I think we'll get there.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and that's the thing too, is like, even with all my criticisms, I know that when you lock the fuck in, I'm gonna be so goddamn hype, baby. You know.
Damn right.
But I'm gonna tell you when you're effing up though too. Yeah. So
Yeah, which is why we love you, Dagovere.
Yeah.
Not many do.
We love you, man.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, if you guys are still listening to us, thank you so much. We really do appreciate all the support. We're pushing 100 subs on Instagram. I mean on YouTube. Follow us at the Starlight Pod on everything. Dagovere, where can they find you?
Anywhere Lord Dagovere is, and this guy's so loud about stupid shit. Please follow me. We're so close to 10K subs in the Dark Temple, baby. Let's go.
Let's go. Almost there,
Daddy
brother.
Sheev, Jedi Connor in the Starlight Beacon, baby. Let's go, baby.
Johnny, where can they find you?
You can find me on TikTok at daddy_Sheev. And like Connor said, don't forget to check us out at the Starlight Pod, YouTube. We're on Spotify, Instagram, TikTok. Give us a follow. And ready up.
Ready up. And you can find me at Jedi.Connor on everything except for Instagram, Jedi.Connor _. We're pushing it. We're trying to push 1,000 subs. We're almost to 600 right now on YouTube. Please sub.
Let's go.
And shout out Johnny for reading the Hunger Games yesterday.
Dude, it was so good. You saw my live reaction.
Absolutely. We could do a whole podcast on that.
Reaping.
Damn right.
Oh, we should, dude. I'd be so down.
Beautiful. May the force be with you all. We love you. Thank you so much.